So I will say that the temperatures have been extremely hot in Florida, and I recently sent out a post on geoengineering, and we remembered the quote, "We should not fool with Mother Nature." In any case, I'm pretty sure that the heat wave that's almost entire country has been affected, of course, and so we're observing this detail only because it relates to everything that is not being directly connected with. So with the all-is, and that is the distance between, let's say, humanity and such. I saw today, not getting political, but saying that George Soros is accused by Elon Musk, two of the richest men in the world, of being not caring about humanity. And Soros is the Mexican. Musk is a Californian, or at least that's where his area is. And I think he has very moderate quarters for himself, considering his numbers. And he evidently likes that. But I'm not at all sure that he actually understands the real issue with humanity as well. If he did, I think that he would be directingly working towards that as an all-isness appearance. And you don't see any of them doing that. They comment about this and that and the other thing that's going on or addressed, and maybe not being addressed in a humanized way, which is true. Some worse than others, of course. And okay, so my relation to that was something that I was creating called the, or thinking about creating, which is called the QBIT, United Insurance Bank Trust, that can be created out of thin air. Whether it could function is a different thing. But the idea was something to do with taking care of the issues of homelessness and lack of support in serious situations, or maybe not dire straits, but nonetheless rehabilitating when storms and hurricanes and whatnot come through. Of course, I have to relate that to the system which is doing this, supposedly. But of course, it's inefficiently, and it's not just that, it's run discooperatively. That is, that it's made or instituted to make money and more funding for those who already have it and those who are supplying it, so that they cover themselves. And not only that, though, in a lot of cases, will not be giving what they have available. So insurance boondoggle, where they're raising a tremendous amount of money, much more than they are giving out in terms of benefit and sharing. And I just shared with a friend who I shared this QBIT idea with, which is a fundraising idea, or what I call fun/D raising, fun need, or whatever way you want to look at it, for fun, raising of capital, money or support, what have you. And I shared it with this friend, an old friend of mine who's been quite generous with me. And at the same time, I was sharing him the idea of what I think would be one way that could work with this. And as so often the case with almost everything that I share, there's very, very little response and very little commentary, very little even likes of videos. So the ability, one more example of that is giving lottery numbers that are correct or close to the winning or exact sometimes, and having none of the people be able to identify that this was actually a very valid list and to utilize it, or then people, I give them the numbers and then they don't play them. Has happened to numerous occasions, and most recently this actually occurred. Right. Thank you, Val. So yes, they're still associated with the old agreements, and anything that appears to be new of any kind is, oh yeah, that's interesting, and then maybe, and then pretty much set aside, certainly not taken to deep heart or promulgated or promoted. I'm not promulgating in the way that's commonly used in most areas, such as the insurance business, medical business, and the rest. So at the end of my commentary to my friend, I gave him what I called kind of this method I use, which I just used a little bit or part of, which is to take a breath through the nose, inhale through the nose, and exhale calmly and fully. And it's a way that I found of composition, and works quite well in a number of different ways to take this pause, if you will, or full breath, and then do whatever it is, the activity or thought process that one's working on, whichever one it is, physical or mental or emotional or what have you, because that kind of composition is often essential. And my thought about it as well was that everybody is being trained in a quite reverse method. So the people I've shared with this breath have ignored me or didn't understand it. And that would even include one of our new friends that I shared it with yesterday briefly. And she said, I don't understand what you mean. Okay, that's fine. So then I wrote about that. And, the explanation is, for me, is that I also include taking honey, which I remember DUANE mentioning maybe a year ago or something like that, but probably more than once. And I take about 3 spoonfuls at least a day, or instead of reaching for sugar or salt or other, and all the, let's say, the common foods that people are getting from their fast food operations. Yeah, same thing. They ignore it. They're not listening to this step for the most part. They don't grasp the heart of it. That way, I find I don't need to reach for any fast sugars, in the honey case. Not that it's a cure-all. I'm just saying it works that way pretty well. And I don't feel like that. Some people have low blood sugar. I used to have it, but I dealt with it dietary, and that's one of those things to be aware of in terms of our physical, and it's longevity activity. So honey, water, and that would be another one. Recently we got an air conditioner, and that's why I moved from one room to the other just now. That's kind of loud. It's a floor model, which is going to be cheaper to run, and it plugs, you take the hose into the window and put it through you know, you have the window plastic or what have you. It's a round circle that goes out, um, uh, and the whole fixture fits into the bottom of the window so that it's airtight, or you have to make it airtight with cardboard, etc. And then so you plug in the hose that is the air going from outside and inside, and then to the machine. So it works pretty good. And what I've noticed, though, is that we have a bucket of water that comes out. Maybe, Val, you can help me with this. I'm wondering if the water is distilled water or it's an excess, you know, or it's from the humidity in the air, comes into the machine, and the air conditioner then has the hose going into our little bucket, and we get half a gallon or more, probably at least a gallon of water a day. And I tasted it. It tasted excellent. As clear as can be. It's beautiful. And I thought, wow, that's all I need to generate water during the day. And if you have electricity. So I don't know if it's distilled or not. I think probably yes to that answer, but I don't know for sure. And if it's good to drink distilled water or not, that's another question. There's certainly some problems with regular water from the tap or the outside. We have a well, so well water also needs to be purified or distilled, or we have some methods for doing that. And some people hook up another filter outside before the water gets into the house. So there's a number of different methods, and there's probably disagreement on it all around. So if it's really needed, well, around here they have planes flying chemtrails, so I'm pretty sure that aspect of it is enough, and so forth. Okay, so when I was describing this speed factor, that people are being programmed in a high speed, you know, instant gratification model, so that they're expecting everything to be a one-line sentence of definition, and they want quick answers. They don't want to discuss it or have someone explain a different viewpoint. And this kind of, you know, I only want to know what I know, and I certainly don't want it to be that you told me. Let me find out for myself kind of attitude. But also, it's this instant gratification model that turns everybody into a speed freak. They got to get their TV on automatically, right on what they want. They're interjected with commercials and high-speed communications of the same one-line delivery, using references that aren't really accurate or associated in any really natural way or clear way or pure way or good way. One of those four. It was really the four. And I guess I was just describing what came to me was the four elements: water, honey, air, breathing, that is, and well, food. But Nu is the fourth one in my view, is this bridge to the all-is and our link, and the energy, frequency, vibration, we could call it that, as one of the four elements, and or necessities. It's funny that we would say, I guess, people would think it's funny to say Nu is a survival, ensures your survival. Well, I don't know, but I do know that to use, I would say, new UU is certainly something that can take you beyond the awareness, or to the level of awareness that is beyond the survival mode in creation. It may not be the thing that keeps us alive, or the sound current or whatever, or the light from the sun, like that. Those things aren't what actually keeps us alive or in our being awareness. So the explanation as such is a distance factor. There's always this distance factor when we try and explain things and or use references, and also there's the distance factor that is alive within human beings and their positions and placements and acknowledgments and assorted sex, race, nationality, culture, psychology, groups, and that is, whatever else, religion, business, government, all of those things as examples there, or referenced disassociations for the most part, and some may be the real, or as close to we get in the pure sense, the real sense, the true sense. And that's thankfully what we're presenting, I would say, without sounding self-indulgent or righteous, because, well, we can't do it either, really, not wholly, and or wholly in a religious way either, which is another one of those references constantly in the way. But still, that's what we're demonstrating or acknowledging and recognizing and referencing to the, at least to the positive sense, and that's quite beautiful. Okay, so I don't have much more. I mean, I do, but not really. I mean, just that this part of the story that I've written, called the Star Rock Legend, is a way of presenting, and what I've done today or recently was started or presenting this, what I'm calling the Star Rock Concert, and that is the Star Rock Legend Wild Stock Concert for Freedom, Truth, and Beauty, which is kind of like a regeneration of Woodstock, but it's more like, what I call it, the Star Rock is, let's say in the original, or let's say take it back 60,000 or maybe 6 million years ago, whatever, to some time that is referenced as maybe when we were all connected to all is originally, or an event that occurred that helped create the souls, or that allowed the souls, individuals, if you will, and everything to be connected with all is, or that is that the all is was impregnated, we'll say, in a sense, into the living being and the solar body of everything. And that occurred at some kind of like event, whether that's actually the Big Bang idea or just a cosmological association with that, doesn't matter. Even all this story doesn't matter. It's just a reference to say, okay, there's this all-isness, and now what happened is that on the planet, which was everything was all connected with everything else, but I guess you could, I'm not sure I'm using this metaphor correctly, so I'm just going to use the metaphor the way I have it, which is that the Star Rock crashed and all the living beings that were rocks and stone and plants or whatever, living beings, any of the living beings that were here, were basically as a genocide event, and that actual living water was then impregnated, I suppose is the best term, into every rock and soul and stone that had been turned. The rock people had been turned back to stone after they'd rocked out for centuries, and then gone through whatever process that was there to say that that construction is going to be maybe eliminated. And so this, at the same time of this event, cosmic event, whatever, the star rock crashes and all the stoned rock people are now turned back to stone. And but in this case, the living water enlivened all the souls that had been taken out of that body, the earth body, the rock body, like that, and were now given new forms. And the evolution of that lifetime after lifetime, and many different bodies and different available models. And this whole process generated, or has then proselytized in a way, up to the current civilizations, which includes their number of cycles of beginnings and eliminations, and civilizations, Atlantis, etc., and all, Lemuria, blah, blah, blah. And then coming up to modern time, we'll say, with Grecos, Romans, Egyptians, and into also the religious, the Christian, and Judeo and Muslim, Indian, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever, and all of those evolutions or lifetimes with, and then coming up to another kind of period of where the degeneration is increasing, of course, and where this is an old story that was shared about the Yuga cycles, and now we're in the Iron Age and so forth, blah, blah, blah. And coming up to something which could be 200, 2,000 years, whatever, more. We're not saying, we're not putting dates or times because it doesn't matter. What matters is the recognition of that and its associative references that each of us as individuals have attached to and taken as some form of either authoritarian or sectarian or humanistic character. And that's what we all have, of course, had our training or our embodiments in, and psychological, quasi-religious, all of the ideas that have been accepted. And yeah, it's interesting when you get somewhere near a point where you go, well, none of those things are going to make any sense, really. And also, we definitely don't want to keep going on the train of that particular ticket that we bought. We've gone on the ride, and better than crashing in the train and saying, oh, that lifetime's done, what am I going to do? I'm going to go back and do it again, or go back to that same group and cognizance, recognition, quality, and go on from there in another lifetime with the memories, etc., or some of them, conscious, and others, most of them not, although we're going to find, if you look at, we all look at the lifetimes, we're suggesting to take some look at the process that probably we were involved with. I found an interesting one to pull this together with Val, that recently there's a discovery about the horse people and something like Mongolia, Siberia, and how they lived, and there was some, they discovered some artifacts of interest, I guess you'd say, with that. And I very much, I saw that and I go, oh, there's me and Val. And the horse tribes would eat the horses. There was certainly that culture. Maybe what they did was, yes, they also, sorry, you know the term for when domesticated. They domesticated, but it was an evolution, for a while they were just, the horses were for their survival. And then, of course, they started to respect the horse for much more. I guess it's evolved like that. And that's how everything evolves. And then you let go of that old, okay, well, I'm not going to eat dogs, I'm not going to eat horses anymore. I'm going to jokingly, wish I had more humor in my commentary, but one of them was the President Kennedy candidate, who is not considered a presidential candidate officially in some circles, and certainly not by the Republicans and the Democrats specifically, because the current Joe Biden, has refused to give protection to this candidate, Kennedy, whose father and uncle were both assassinated or killed. And I bring this together because currently, yesterday, there was an event, you probably all know about it. Certainly every American knows about it, because they're going to make darn sure that every American knows about it. And in any case, there was a so-called assassination attempt. Now, this particular individual who was shot grazed his ear, which I think is interesting, because ear means listening. And are you really listening? No. But the point was that I got off the point by talking about the individual. See, that sucks. But the point is that this person is not an official government official at the moment. He was. So they calling it an assassination attempt. It was not really an assassination attempt, because I think that means president. And Ronald, you can argue with me if you want, but it's probably not the best thing to do at the moment. But just in general, it was an attempt at someone as a president candidate. But he has all kinds of protection, which didn't work exactly and could have been really fatal. And actually it was fatal, I'll say, in one way, because he represents the people as well as anyone, and a man behind him was shot and killed protecting his family that was with him. And 2 other people were critically injured, evidently. And you hear all the news that they put out. That was not the first thing that's put out there. And it's, okay, obligatory dominion of the control authority system and how they're programming everybody through the media. We're all well aware of it now, and have been for 10 years, 15 years. I would say for myself, not speaking for anyone else, that I'll go back to my 60s back to the 60s rather, when I was in high school. And I went to a school that had black people who were athletes who were on scholarship, and made real good friends with them. And I didn't know anything about any of this. But by those references, I found out the condition of how they considered the racism and their controlled situation. Now, they are fortunate in a way because they're able to get this education, which is a very good one. It's almost like going to college in high school. And in any case, that whole thing is debilitated with the same system that's promoting the fast food, education, food, medicines, cure-alls for all the diseases and crap that they're creating. And that is the reason why I'm calling up the model of the Star Rock legend. Just one quick thing more is about the music I was doing today. I made the videos just a few minutes ago. They're videos I made before, but I kind of overdubbed some other guitar sounds and redid them. One is called An Evergreen, which was about the real pure air, real water, natural environment, awareness. And the other one was called Runaway Dream. You find you're on a runaway dream. Like that, which isn't like necessarily within the dreamscape. I mean the dream of life that these people, American dream is one very clear example of a runaway dream, out of control, with no real proper associative. The real reason why America has this purpose is for America to become an example of the all-is, or some form of bridge in its, and that partially, very minutely, I guess you'd say, was something that had to do with the original constitutional and the Declaration of Independence consciousness that I think Ben Franklin maybe was more associated with than any of the others being more monetary and systematic, and some very authoritarian. But in general, it was more of a libertized, where it wasn't the model that most of the other countries had adopted in the world, which is usually one leader says all, and so forth and so on. So take a deep breath, breathe through the nose, pause or exhale fully, if you whatever. There's no model, perfect way, and that's, then I usually find I'm not only out of gas, I don't really probably have much more to say anyway. Which is funny because, we really can't say what we're saying without this our referential, and if I may, word reference, referential, which has to do with the idea not just of referencing things, but the word refer is in association with revering, which is something religious. That's not saying you should go religious with it, but having that sense of a referential context, which is basically the same thing as, have some heart. And I get that. That's a, yeah, you have to open the heart and like that, because That's part of it, is opening the mental body as well, emotional body and physical senses to whatever. And it has nothing to do with using those as vehicles to get somewhere. Rather, it is to recognize that we have those, and they're all vehicles in association, referential manner, referencing, if you will, or recognizing. So I have to say I'm going to thank you with a real heart here to DUANE because of these terms also, not just the heart of it, but the terms that, yes, and the word associations that we find, well, they're important at some level, but they can change, like intuitional senses, and used real awareness. Intuitional senses, you know, maybe it was called the path of total awareness in the spiritual group, and they changed that to something about light and sound, blah, blah, blah. It's you know, yes, but so that's, I guess, where the new UU comes back or comes in again, and I guess that's it.